All right, fellow babies, it's Pachter back on the Factor on SIFTD.net if you're a subscriber, and if not, you're watching it a week late on YouTube, which is fine with us. Lots of great stuff on SIFTD.net, so check it out. It's $30 a year, kind of worth it for a worthy cause. And if they get more members, they can afford more talent. And if they get more talent, then your subscription is even worth more. So give it a shot. Check it out. Question from Twitter at Zidane. How do you interpret the industry's refusal to disclose transparent sales data? For instance, EA, Activision, Ubisoft, and Microsoft no longer share sales data. It's their data, so they have no obligation to disclose anything. And so I'm not sure how to interpret it. They don't have to tell us anything. They have to tell shareholders how much revenue they generate and how much profit they make, and they aren't obligated to break down the sales of every single game. I mean, I think they like to give people a feel. They're not even required to give you percentages. Let me give you an analogy. Do you think that AT&T reports what sales are at AT&T stores of Android handsets versus Apple handsets? No, and they're not required to. So no, there's no public company obligation to reveal those kinds of things. And the reason that they don't is they don't want to get boxed into a corner where everybody is evaluating every game they sell on a weekly basis. I cannot tell you how many idiotic questions I get from reporters about, for example, Call of Duty, or Destiny sold X billions of dollars of XYZ game in the first 3 days. And the reporter goes, how does that compare to the first 3 days of these other games? And I'm like, who puts out numbers after 3 days? And so the problem is, we used to joke that Activision used to put out, when Call of Duty got to $1 billion, and I'm completely making up these numbers because I don't remember, but I can look it up. But it was like the first time they broke $1 billion in the same year, it was 26 days. Then the next time they reported it was 22. Then the next time they reported it was 19. So clearly Call of Duty was selling more and more and more and more. And then the year that Call of Duty Ghosts came out, do you remember that turd? Activision put out a press release. We sold in $1 billion worth of content in the first day. And I'm like, yeah, but how many people bought it? Some publishers talk about lifetime sales. So Grand Theft Auto is up to 52 million, but it came out in 2013. It's 2016 last I checked. That's a great number. Nintendo does the same thing. But I don't think EA's ever put out a FIFA number. I don't think I've ever heard FIFA sold 14 million units this year. We might get stuff like total FIFA revenues, including FIFA Ultimate Team, were 1.2 billion. Then we try to back in, how many unit sales there were, what percentage, but no, none of them give it. So how do I interpret it? I interpret it a bunch of people that have a company to run who honestly don't think they need to share every detail about their business. And if you throw out a number, all that's going to happen is the next year people are going to scrutinize the number and look for it. And if you don't do it again, it means you have something to hide. So I interpret the refusal as they don't think that it really makes any difference for their stakeholders, their shareholders, in making an investment decision. And they don't really care about you guys who read the gaming press or watch the Pachter Factors. So they're not giving you the data. That's why I get asked all the time what I think sales were, because it's not knowable. It doesn't show up anywhere. Okay, our next question this week is from SIFTD from Stealthy. Take-Two Games is teasing a big E3 presence this year. Do you think Agent will finally see light of day? If not, which game do you think it will show? Which press conference do you think Rockstar will attend, Sony or Microsoft, and why? I'm not sure what you mean by 2K Games is teasing a big E3 presence. There was that summarized his October 2015 interview with Strauss Zelnick, who is the CEO of Take-Two, at which Strauss said in October of 2015 that Take-Two is going to have a very big presence at E3, perhaps the biggest ever in 2016. And for some really odd reason, waited until February or March to report this. I really don't understand it. Look it up. Maybe he explained it in the article. I promise you, I barely glanced at the article. But it was reported as news that because it's the biggest E3 presence for Take-Two ever, that means Rockstar's coming, because the last time they had a big presence, Rockstar was there, which was 2005. Look it up. I will say pretty confidently, Rockstar's not attending any press conferences. I don't even think the Rockstar guys were at the GTA 5 announcement at the Sony press conference. I think Sony announced it. I could be wrong. It might have been like some guy who works in the studio. Certainly wasn't the Housers. And Les Benzies doesn't work there anymore. The Housers don't go to E3 anymore. So Agent see the light of day? Agent might have been announced the year the PlayStation 3 came out. I asked Take-Two, yeah, you're right. It was announced in like 6 or 7. Yeah. I asked Take-Two in 2009 if they were still working on it. They said yes. I asked them in 2012, and they said, we haven't announced a cancellation of that game. So I assume they're still working on it. In fairness, Take-Two did take some large write-down a couple of years ago and wouldn't disclose what the write-down was. So it's entirely possible it's Agent, but they wouldn't tell us. So I don't know. I would say, Agent's got as good a chance as anything else of coming out of Rockstar. They haven't produced a new game since 2013, Grand Theft Auto. I mean, they put it out on next gen, they put it on PC in 14 and 15, but they haven't put out any other IP other than GTA and GTA Online since 13. So they got to do something. Agent makes sense. Interesting observation. I think that the Housers used to go to E3 every year. I used to see them there. They're actually really interesting guys. They're fun to listen to. The last time they were there, the game that they were promoting was The Warriors, which was quite good. I don't know how well it sold, but it was a really good game, PS2 game. And that was 2005. And they had all these really kind of burned out buses. It was a chain link fence, like a playground. It was really well done. I mean, the booth was really cool. But 2005 was the year of hot coffee. And if you don't know what hot coffee is, look it up, put it in quotes on Google, you'll read about it. It was a sex scene inside GTA San Andreas. And when it came out, when people revealed this sex scene, Take-Two, Rockstar got a lot of heat for putting a sex scene in a game. And at the time, the Housers said, not us, the game must have been hacked, some hacker must have put the code in. And right around E3, I swear, I think it was within weeks of E3, somebody proved that the code was actually on the disk and it was just locked, and that the code, it had been encrypted and unlocked. And the Housers were kind of humiliated, and I think they got a lot of press. I can't remember if it was right before E3 or right after, but I think they just became quite media shy ever since. So they tend to just do interviews with kind of well-respected publications that talk about how brilliant they are, and they are. So that's okay. They tend to shy away from places where someone might just jam a microphone in your face and start asking questions with a camera. And so they have not been to E3 since 2005. If they have, they haven't been public. I mean, they've been hidden and nobody's seen them. So I would say they will never go back again. I don't think they need to. I don't think they care. Take-Two can announce a Rockstar game without Rockstar being there. And that happens. That's happened for most Rockstar games. I mean, Max Payne and GTA 5 were announced without Rockstar being there, and Red Dead and LA Noire, and they go on and on and on. So I don't think that matters. I don't believe the so-called big E3 presence, but in fairness, with no EA presence on the show floor, they're having their own deal, and with Activision moving to the Sony booth, that pretty much leaves Take-Two and Ubisoft and Nintendo as the stars of E3. So I think that Take-Two might take up more space, and I think we're going to probably see, a big emphasis on Mafia. There might be another 2K game announced. I have no idea what it is, but they have a lot of content. But no, I don't think you're going to see Agent. I don't think you're going to see anything from Rockstar. It's pretty late in the year, and it's pretty late to be making an announcement for a game for this year. You might get an announcement for a game for next year, but I don't think we're getting any Rockstar anything this year. Agent maybe. If you really go back and look, the Rockstar 3 guys, the Hausers and Les Benzis, signed a contract in 2009, renewed in 2012, that gives them 49% ownership of new IP. You should be getting some new IP by now. It's been 7 years since they signed that contract. So we're due for an announcement. Their history has been to announce games way before they come out. GTA 5 was announced November 1st, 2011. Look it up. And came out in September of 13. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get an announcement around E3, not necessarily at E3 for the 2017 game, which probably is Red Dead Redemption. We'll see. But we're due for something. Could be new IP as well, which would be really interesting. I think those guys are talented, and I like playing every one of their games. So I look forward to whatever it is. Warriors 2 would be fine with me. Manhunt 3 would be fine with me. Okay, our next question comes from Twitter from @EvanAdams. Are game rental companies like GameFly doomed? It doesn't seem like that model can be taken online like the pivot Netflix went through. Yeah, agreed. There's no way that the publishers are going to sell the rights to unlimited play of digital copies of their games to GameFly. So the reason that Netflix is able to do this and GameFly won't be able to is that there are rights to movies to be streamed after they have their theatrical run and after their DVD sales are done. So after most of the profit is made, and even then the first window after physical DVD sales and people going to the theater is on demand, and you're able to rent the movie for $5, $6 per view on demand. The next window is the premium cable window like HBO, who gets Fox, Universal, Warner Brothers movies. You get to watch those. Then the window after that is typically Netflix. Now Netflix is signed with Disney to get that kind of premium HBO window for Disney movies only, but they have to wait till that window closes, which is 8 years for movies. Yes, you could get 8-year-old digital copies through a GameFly, but they'll never make any money because who wants to play 8-year-old games? So that won't work unless you get games like Braid or Unravel or Fat Princess or something offered through GameFly for subscription. I mean, those I think the publishers would allow them to have, but nobody's going to pay $20 a month for that. You know, I think that it's really hard to be an aggregator of that kind of content. And if anybody's going to be the aggregator, it'll probably be the console manufacturers. So Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo can offer library copies. I don't know if you've joined PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, but I don't even know how many free games I get on PlayStation Plus, but it's a lot. I mean, the dashboard is full of free games. You know, for, what do I pay? $49.99 a year, and I would bet there's 100 free games. Most of them like Unravel, but there's or Fat Princess, but there are plenty of older, AAA games on there too. So it's hard to join a GameFly if you're already getting it free for a very low price, $50 for PlayStation, $60 for Xbox Live. Why would you pay $20 for GameFly a month for the same privilege, same stuff that you get for $5 on the other guys? So I would say it's not doomed. High-frequency gamers who play 20 games a year love GameFly. I mean, you can literally get a game and every 2 or 3 weeks, ship it back when you finish it and start something else. And if you're a single-player campaign guy like I am, I typically don't play games more than 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, the games like Fallout and Elder Scrolls are the exception that you can actually spend 3 months playing, but most games, Call of Duty, I'm sure I finished Call of Duty in a week the last time I played it. Okay. Our last question comes from Twitter, from @BloodReaver. Why do region locks on games and apps exist? Good question. They shouldn't. It's really a good question. It's legal. It's copyright. It's different tariffs. It's different taxes. It's government regulation where the government doesn't want you to import something from another place. They want to make sure that they collected what they're supposed to collect. So typically tax and tariff. and they just want to make sure that the revenue for the game is sourced to the country where the game is going to be played. So if, you know, England has a value-added tax, they don't want you bringing, you know, going abroad and buying a copy of Call of Duty in America and bringing it back. I'm not sure that Call of Duty is region locked, but they used to all be region locked for that reason. It really seems to me that if I can buy a sweater when I'm traveling and bring it back to my home country and not pay the tariff, I should be able to buy a game. Interestingly, if you buy a product that has a VAT, value-added tax imposed, and you buy it for export, so if you buy a tie in Britain and I pay, I think the VAT is 16 or 17%. So if I paid $100 for my tie, math is easy, and I paid $16 value-added tax, I can actually get a refund at the airport if I show the receipt and I show as I go through customs that I'm exporting the tie for use in the United States. It's not subject to the tax. So the point is that the VAT is only imposed on goods that are enjoyed in the particular country where it's sold. And so that's the same point. On the game I buy in the US, if I bring it into the UK, unless they're going to search my luggage or unless people are honest and they voluntarily said, hey, wait a minute, I should have paid you an extra $7 or $8 in VAT on that game, the British government's not going to get their money. So again, I don't remember if the Brits region lock anymore. They did for a long time last decade. I've heard that there are far fewer console games this time around, but it's primarily for tax reasons. And you know, same thing. I mean, like a lot of countries want to favor local businesses, so they want components of different products, you know, to be manufactured in their country. They want things to be sold in their country because it's better for their economy if the revenue stays in the country. When you buy a game at your local retailer, that retailer then takes that profit and they reinvest it. They either pay somebody salaries or they buy more stuff. They pay the light bill. It gets reinvested in the country, and then the person who made the salary working in the game shop goes and buys groceries, and the grocer goes and buys gasoline, and it's a virtuous circle where, you know, the money keeps getting spent again and again. That's called velocity. So they like to make sure that if you're going to enjoy a product in your home country, that the product was purchased there as well, and they collect everything. Because again, they don't want you to be buying stuff in the U.S. and helping President Trump to build a wall. They want you to buy stuff in your local country. All right, so that's it for this week's episode on SIFTD.net. If you're watching on YouTube, you're a cheap bastard because you didn't pay the $30 to watch it a week ago. But that's okay. I don't get paid, so I insist that you guys have access to this for free. Please tell all your friends and neighbors and children and teachers they can get some Pack lovin' if they go to Pachter Factor. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, at Michael Pachter. If you want to ask a question, ask it on Twitter, at Michael Pachter, copy at SIFTD Games, or ask on the SIFTD site. It's very obvious when you go to Pachter Factor where to ask a question. We appreciate your support. We will answer as many questions as we can. Thanks again for joining us. See you next week.